let's start looking at expressions by maybe making a new project. I've got one already because I just opened it, and I'm just going to save it. I'll put it right on our desktop here, maybe. Let's put it right on the desktop, and let's say expressions, I'm going to call it. Okay, so as we get started with expressions, obviously we need to make a new composition. Let's see, maybe we'll use different comps for different expressions as well, so you can keep an eye on them. So what I was thinking, what we could start with is, as we started looking at how you can add expressions, we'll do a looping animation first. So I'm going to call it looping. The usual full HD, 24 frames per second, 10 seconds. Now, as for duration, so what we'll do is we'll make an animation and we'll make it, let's say I'm going to make maybe a bouncing ball where it's going to animate for 2 seconds. 1 second to go down and 1 second to go back up. So if the duration is 10 seconds, it's going to play 5 times, it's going to loop 4 times. So I was thinking maybe we can make it longer, so maybe 20 seconds this time, at least. So it's going to loop more times. Okay, so I'll click OK. Just to keep it simple, we'll draw a shape. So I'm going to draw a circle here with the ellipse tool. And just before I forget, I'm going to move the anchor point with layer transform center anchor point layer content. Okay, so right in the center. And I'm just going to give this shape maybe a radial gradient for the fill in here. And for the actual fill, I'm just going to quickly reset this. So I need to remove some of these stops. All I need 2 here, which you normally get by default anyway. And I'm going to use different shades of red. So have a lighter red and a darker red maybe. And this could be really bright red. And with selection tool, I'm just going to add this gradient to make this look more like a reflection, so that this will actually be somewhere on the edge, maybe there. And actually, I want to reverse the colors. So go back to the green editor, and I'm going to swap this. So it's actually the opposite. Something like this. And then this can go here. There we go. And this can go here. Maybe something like this. Just an idea. Okay. So let's make it animate. Let's make it bounce. So with the layer selected, I'm just going to do P for position, and I'll add a keyframe at the start, and then 1 second later, 1 second, we'll move the ball with selection tool, so it's at the bottom of the screen. Say here. As we're creating this initial animation, we need to make sure that our next keyframe, or the last one at 2 seconds, it's identical to the first one. So we can just copy and paste. So I'll just select this keyframe, Control or Command C to copy, I'll go to 2 seconds, and then Control or Command V to paste it. So that the first keyframe and the last one at the moment, are identical. So for example, now we're ready to add expression to make this loop. If we want to kind of test it, if we want to see if it's going to loop seamlessly, because that's the idea, I want it to be seamlessly looping, I would move the end of the work area to here with the N, and I'll just play it to see if it's going to loop seamlessly. It does look seamless. We want to make sure there's no jump between the first keyframe and the last one, or when it's going to loop in there. This one looks perfect at the moment, so it's all good. Because it's all good, now we're ready to add expression, which we're going to do in our next video. Once we have our composition ready with some animation, keep in mind this could be any animation you want. We just want some movement as an example in here, and we'll just make it loop. So just make sure you have some animation, something like this. Now I'm just going to reset the work area, so it's the entire composition, not just 2 seconds. Because this comp is, well, mine is 20 seconds. This is going to play 10 times. So it's going to loop 9 times as we once we finished. Okay. Now when you add expressions, you add an expression to a property on your timeline. In this case, this is going to be the position property in here. So the property will have keyframes, like a position, for example, where you have the stopwatch, which is in blue at the moment. If you put a cursor over the stopwatch, you get this tool that says that you can add expression with the Alt click or Option key click on the Mac. Now, just before we do that in here, because we want this animation to loop, and we want it to loop after it's done this one set of motion, we need to make sure that our CTI, our playhead, is somewhere where the animation doesn't play anymore. Now your CTI doesn't have to be on the keyframe here, but it will need to be at least on the keyframe or after the keyframe. So anywhere here is fine, doesn't matter really. Just make sure you move your CTI to after the animation stopped. And now we're going to hold Alt key, Option key on the Mac, and we'll click on the stopwatch. And this will add an expression. You see the expression here in the timeline there. Keep the expression highlighted, and we'll just start typing something. As you add expressions, you're going to get some help. There will be some drop downs from After Effects. Okay, so you need to know everything. So for example, we want to make this animation loop. So if you start typing the word loop, L-O-O, you get this drop down. Or if you type in loop, here we go. And in this case, we're looking for loop out. So I'm going to use the down arrow key on the keyboard to move the down to loop out. And you can either double click on this, or you can press Enter on the keyboard to add this expression. Now you just click away to deselect it. Don't press Enter, because this will just make a new line of code. So just click away, and that's it. That's it, I'm afraid. So if you play it now, this is going to keep playing on a loop. I want to say forever, but this will just keep playing for as long as your comp is going to play. So mine is going to do this, this animation 10 times. It's going to loop 9 times after 2 seconds. Also, in this case, just something to keep in mind is that if you were to export this animation as an animated GIF, this will loop automatically because you have animated GIF. So you don't have to do this. But if we export this comp as a video, we apply an expression like we did here. So it's going to play over and over again for 10, 20 or 30 seconds, or as long as you want. And then it's going to stop in here. Okay. Now another example I want to show you with the looping animation is how you can apply it to any property. So let me show you another example in the next video. So let's keep it open. I will continue the next video. Let's do one more example of the looping. And I thought what we could do is this time we could make a different property loop. So I was thinking maybe like a blinking star. Always the same composition. I'm just going to deselect the layer, so we make a new shape layer. I'm going to use the star tool for that. I'll just draw a star. Just a small one. Okay. I was going to make the background darker, so go to composition settings to darken the background. So you can see this better because I want the star to be more visible in here. Okay, I'll leave the color as it is, that's fine. We'll animate, say, just the opacity of this layer here. So the layer selected, I'll do T for opacity, put a CTI at the beginning and add a keyframe with opacity set to 0 initially. So we can't see the star yet. And just so we can focus on the star right now, I'm just going to solo this layer. Again, I'll give it 1 second to fade in. So 1 second, opacity 100. And again, we can just copy the first keyframe with Ctrl or Command C, go to 2 seconds and paste it with Ctrl or Command V. So again, if we just set the end of the work area here and play it, the star will just fade in and fade out, fade in and fade out. Okay, so let's reset the work area. Remember, you can add, well, at least in case of loop or loop out expression, you can add it to any property. So again, we'll move the CTI after the animation finishes right now. So anywhere here. And this time we'll hold Alt key and we'll click on the stopwatch for the opacity. This time we'll add in expression to the opacity. Now the expression is going to be the same. So we'll do loop out and we'll just click away to accept it. And now when we preview it, it's going to make this star appear and disappear, appear and disappear. We just fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. We could then nest this comp in another comp, or for example, just wanted to show you what we could also do here. Oops, what we can also do here, let me just zoom out in the timeline, is we can duplicate this layer, let me just name it star, to have more stars. So the layer selected, you can just do Ctrl or Command D to make a duplicate. I'll shift it a little bit so it starts a little bit later. Let's say maybe half a second later, so 12 frames. Okay. And I'll move the star so it's not in the same location. So with selection tool, just move it maybe somewhere there. And I have 2 stars which animate at slightly different times. Then we could duplicate this layer again, so Ctrl or Command D. We shift it by another half a second, so do 1 second, and shift the layer to make it start at 1 second. Oops, 1 second. There. And I'll move the star so it's somewhere else. Maybe here. Now I have 3 stars that appear one by one. And we can do just a bunch of them. So, you know, can do again. Maybe, well, let's say do one at a time. Control Command D. Say 112. And we'll just shift it. So it starts here. And we move it someplace else. Maybe here. I'll do one more, Control or Command D. This will start at 2 seconds. And this will appear somewhere else. Maybe there in the corner. So we'll have 5 different stars that appear one by one and they keep blinking. You can have as many as you wanted, and you can also add them to a different comp. Remember, this background color doesn't really exist. This is all transparent. So you could place them on a different background. Okay. And as we duplicate in the layer, it's duplicating all the layer properties, including the keyframes and including the expression as well. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you a variation of loop out expression. Okay. This time we'll do a variation on the looping animation. I'll use the same looping comp and maybe just a quick animation, but this time we'll do just 2 keyframes. Just the first and second keyframe without the third one. Okay. So let's say if I'm going to select the layers again, or I could do layer, new shape layer, and maybe again any shape. So let's say ellipse will be fine, or a circle. This time I'll make it move sideways, for example. And that's the layer. P for position. At the beginning, the first keyframe. And then let's say at 1 second, I'll move it across the screen. I'm going to ignore the anchor point right now. Let's say it moves maybe here. So at the moment it's just moving sideways. Let me just disable solo from the stars for now, so we can focus on this layer here. At the moment it's just doing this. That's it. It's only got, this is the ball, this only got 2 keyframes, and it's only going to have 2 keyframes in here because we have a variation on the loop out expression. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop the playhead as usual. We'll add the expression to the position property with alt click like we did before, but this time when we do loop out, in the brackets we'll add a property, in double quotes called ping pong. So when you type when you type in double quote, you get a drop down. I will choose ping pong here. Okay, that's it. I will just click away. And now when you preview, this is going to animate forward and backward. It's going to move back to its starting position automatically. So if you don't want to bother with the third keyframe, if you want to quickly do it, you can just use the ping pong property on the loop out expression. Okay, in our next video we're going to have a look at another expression, different expression this time. We're going to have some, say, random movements for an object. You're going to use the wiggle expression on the next one. So let's keep it open. I will continue next video. Let's make a new composition, which I'm going to call it wiggle. Same size as before. Maybe I'm just going to shorten the duration to 10 seconds, the usual. Okay. We need some object. So any object, any shape. And we do a circle again, say somewhere here. Maybe to lead by example, I will move the anchor point as well with layer transform and center anchor point layer content. Okay. Now, this time we're just going to add an expression to the position property in here. So I'm going to do P for position, alt click on the stopwatch. We're not doing any keyframes this time. And what we'll do is we'll do wiggle here. Wiggle, okay. And wiggle will have 2 properties in here. The first property is going to be for the frequency of the wiggle or the movement. Let's say we'll do 1 for now, okay? 1 per second, okay? Then we'll do a comma to separate the properties. And the second one is going to be for the amplitude, how far we want it to go. So let's say if we do maybe 100 to start with, and I will click away, I will just play it. It's going to do this. It's going to move by up to 100 pixels once every second. If we wanted to wiggle more, we can change. So let's say we'll change the second value to be maybe 500. So you get more movement. It's going to move further. We can also make it wiggle more frequently. So we can change 1 to say maybe 3. So you get more movements. And you know, we could say duplicate this layer, Control or Command D to duplicate it. Okay. This will also have an expression here. And if I just move this one maybe here, we can have a bit more random movements here. This could be used for some simulations for, I don't know, the way bacteria or some cells move inside the body or something like that. So the wiggle, you get 2 properties. The first one is the frequency, how often is going to move, and the second value is the amplitude, how far from its starting point it can move in any direction here. So got 3 for frequency, it moves 3 times every second, and it moves up to 500 pixels away from the starting point here. And you can have as many as you want, so you could make another duplicate, Control D, and I'll just move this one maybe to the center to start with. So got 3 of them moving. Okay, that's the wiggle expression. In the next video, we're going to look at expression called time. In this video, we're going to create a shape, or we'll use a shape, and we'll make it rotate. Rotating would be a good example for the time. We can have a shape rotate at certain amount of time. So here's an example. I've drawn some shapes and got 2 red lines. One for the hour arm, which is shorter. One for the minute arm, which is longer. That's the minute arm. Okay. This is the hour arm. Okay. Let's just double check. Also drew these lines. This is like a clock. Okay. But let's just double check. Now we need to make sure that the anchor points are at the bottom of these shapes where the center of the comp is. So on the hour arm, there's the anchor point. Okay. Let's just solo it for a second. Okay. And then the minute arm, just checking, make sure they all start at the same position, and the minute arm also has the anchor point here at the bottom. Okay, right. So here's what we'll do now. I'll start with the hour arm. We're going to, well, we're not doing any animation, by the way, okay, and not as per se, okay. But we do need rotation property, and we'll add an expression to rotation with alt click on a stopwatch. Okay, and now we'll use the time expression and then times. So you know the symbol on the number 8 on your keyboard when you multiply things. Okay, now the hour arm should rotate more slowly. So let's say now, so we're doing some rotation per second in here. So let's say, for example, let's say this one in 1 second is going to rotate maybe up to here to 3 o'clock. So this would be 90 degrees, if I'm correct. Let's see. So if I click away and play it. Okay, let's just double check. So if we move the CTI to 1 second, it goes to 3 o'clock. At 2 seconds, it'll go to 6. Now it's working. Maybe we'll make it slower. So I'm actually thinking maybe we can make it do 3 o'clock in 2 seconds. So do 45 degrees. Okay, oops, no enter key. So it's going to go from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock in 2 seconds. Because it's going to rotate 45 degrees every second. Okay? This will make it go more slowly. Okay, so what about the minute arm? So let's do rotation here as well. Click on a stopwatch with the Alt key. Okay, so again, we'll do time. Now, at 2 seconds is 3 o'clock. So it means that the minute arm has 2 seconds to do full circle. So it's going to do 180 degrees in 1 second. If my math is correct, let's see. Okay, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 12 o'clock. Okay. So as we start here, at 2 seconds, it's going to be exactly 3 o'clock. At 4 seconds, 6 o'clock. At 6 seconds, 9 o'clock. You can tweak the timing obviously, but the idea here is, so we have these two arms which are rotating at different speed. The hour arm, shorter one more slowly, the longer one, the minute arm, much faster, to show passing time. And this will normally, you know, stop at the end of your comp. It won't loop when you export as a video. That's how you can use the time expression in your animations. What we'll do in the next video is let's see, we'll have a look at different expressions. Keep it open. Okay, in this video, I'm going to show another expression where we'll have this shape, a box behind the text, which is going to resize itself automatically to fit the text inside. So if you make a new composition, add some text, just a normal text layer as usual, and add a shape behind it. So I've got this text layer, just a normal text layer here, and I've got the rectangle with rounded corners behind it. It's just a normal rectangle with rounded corners, just a normal shape. There's nothing special about it. Just a couple of things I did here is I did place the text right in the center of the comp, just to make it easier. So it's center aligned. And also the shape is also center aligned. Okay, so they're in the center. Also the text is center aligned within itself here. So the text will expand from the center to both left and right. Okay. Now, we have an expression which we're going to add to the shape layer. Okay. So if we open the shape layer properties, we're looking for the actual shape and for the size property in here. Okay. And I've got the code in here because it's a bit longer this time. Okay. So I'm going to attach it so you can download it. So I'm just going to highlight this code in here and copy. Okay. Now here we're going to add an expression to the size of the rectangle. I will do Control V or Command V to paste it, and then we'll just click away. So I've got this expression here. Okay. Now, as we customize the text, so select the text layer, we'll put some text in here. New text. Here you go. And the box is expanding automatically. This is a resizable box. Maybe something like that. Okay. So the expression is in the document, in the text file attached to this lesson. And this is the expression. It's quite a long one actually. So there's a bit more here. Here we go. can open it so you can see it better. Here we go. But it's quite a big one. Here you have it. There you go. And this makes the shape, any shape, resize itself to accommodate the text, which is actually a separate layer. It's not really inside the box, but it's looking at this text layer and it's adjusting the width and the height of the shape as you customize the text. How cool is that? And this is the expression. Here we go. This is the entire expression. There we go. Now you can see the entire expression if you prefer it here. Have fun. And now one more expression, one more exercise here. At this time, animated statistics, a very popular expression used to make the numbers animate, make the numbers change from certain value to certain value. So a good example here would be with when you log into, say, a credit score, for example, into your account, it shows you credit score number, say out of 1,000, for example, and the numbers animate to reveal your result. Okay, so I made a new comp already. It's vertical mode this time to make it look like a mobile app, as an example. And I put a headline, your credit score, and now we just need a text layer with a number in the center. So I'm going to use an example where we have a number out of 1,000, which represents percentages. So say if we get 83%, this will be 830 as an example. And this should be nice and big. Let's see how big, 150 maybe, or even 200. And I'm going to put this text right in the center as well. Now, okay, and I'll zoom in closer so you can see this better. There we go. It's just a number, it's just a text layer. Okay. Now, this is going to be a bit different from the expressions we've been doing so far. This time, on this layer, with the layer selected, we need to add an effect to it. So go to Effect menu, Expression Controls, and Slider Control. So we add in Slider Control effect to this layer. Okay, to get a slider control. I'm also going to show you a different technique of applying an expression in this case to make it a bit easier so we don't have to write everything. Now, we need to connect the text on a text layer with this effect we just created here. So if you open this layer in your timeline and open text, we'll alt click on the stopwatch for source text here to add expression. Here we go. Don't worry about the composition panel, just ignore it for a second. It says refresh disabled, that's fine. Now, just so we don't have to write the entire expression, what you can do this time is you can click on this pick whip icon, the snail, click, hold the mouse button down, and we'll drag it into the effect controls panel to point it to the slider property on the slider control effect. And that's where you're going to drop it. This will write the expression for you in here. Now you can click away and everything will go back to normal. The number will change to 0 because the slider value now is 0. But if you try to change the slider value, see how the numbers are going to change as well. What we'll do now is we'll keyframe the slider control effect. So the CTI at the beginning, we'll click on the stopwatch for the slider, we'll keep it at 0. I'll give it quite a few seconds. So I'll move the CTI to say maybe 4 seconds in here. And then we'll change the slider control effect, slider value. So mine was 830. Okay. So when I play it, now we may get decimal points. That's okay, we'll fix it next, don't worry. But the numbers are going to change from 0 to the number you specified. Mine are changing to 830 in 4 seconds. Okay. Now we need to add just a tiny bit of code to our expression to remove any decimal points. So we're going to click on our expression, put a cursor at the end. I will do dot VA, I will select value, dot TOF to fixed, and 0 between the brackets. And now you can click away to close this expression, and now there'll be no decimal points, just full digits, just the integers. If you want some integers, you can, well, the number in between the brackets, this number here, represents the number of decimal points. So you may want maybe two integers, two numbers after decimal point. So you can do 2 here. So you get something like this. But in this case, we don't want any, so keep 0 in between the brackets here. Here we go. And you can make your animation longer, shorter. We can also apply some ease in here, you know, the usual. You can use this technique with any numbers. You can use it with countdowns, where you're going to count down from maybe 10 to 0, because you keyframe the slider control effect, and you decide what number you want to start with and what number you want to finish with as well. You can start from 8:30 and finish at 0, or anything you like. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed learning some expressions in After Effects 101, or basics of adding expressions in Adobe After Effects. If you enjoy it, if you like it, there's so much more you can do with expressions. This is just to get you started, just to show what expressions are like, how they work, how we create them, how we add them, how we customize them. And there's so much more you can do with expressions. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and have fun.